Abiyán, Costa de Marfil, así como profesor de Teología Moral y Ética Social en la misma institución. Fue profesor, investigador y miembro del Consejo del Centro de Investigación y Acción para la Paz, también en Abiyán. Es miembro de diversos grupos académicos y de incidencia, entre los que se encuentran la Sociedad de Educación Moral, la de Ética Teológica Católica en el Mundo de la Iglesia, los Estudios de la Dignidad y Humillación Humana, Sociedad Americana de Ética Cristiana y también de la Red Ignaciana de Incidencia sobre Migración. Please, Victor.
My apologies first to be speaking in English when my language of work has always been French. So I excuse myself for whatever will be said. I belong to a center of research for peace and action in Ivory Coast. And also I'm here on behalf of the Jesuits of Africa and Madagascar, representing the Jesuits on the continent to this meeting. And I'm grateful to have been invited. What I would like to share today is going to be a relation between free movement, a policy agreed upon by states of West Africa, and the virtue of hospitality. Here I'm going to speak about West Africa, the next slide. West Africa, I'm not going to speak about the whole Africa, the whole continent, 53 countries. Here, West Africa is only 16 countries with 4 languages, different international languages, with 100 of local languages. And here you have the colors of languages. The blue one are the French speakers, and I'm one of them. So they represent, the whole West Africa represents something like 5,112,000 kilometer squares. And we have also 340 million of inhabitants in this area. So in 2004, the data which shows the migrants in West Africa, we have 7.5 million of migrants internally within Africa. Whereas at the same time, we have 7.2 million of people coming from West Africa to Europe. So you see, from this data, you can see that there are more migrants within West Africa than even those going to Europe. It's true that the tragedy we have been seeing over these past years around the port of Europe in the Mediterranean Sea has been, something which has shown the tragedy within Africa. But there is more inside Africa, which I'm going to show. The 7.5 million of inhabitants, of migrants in Africa have a story. And this story, which I'm going to describe. First, let's say the long history of migration in Africa starts from even the pre-colonial times, with people moving around for security, for food, for new settlement, for fertile land. And we have seen so many movements within Africa. And also during the slavery time, people have to run away for security, etc. The colonial regime also brought in some movement with the Berlin Conference, which scrambled Africa from making Africa with so many little countries in the 19th century brought together various blend of political and economical structures in Africa, with tax regime, territorial boundaries, and therefore, for instance, in West Africa, the former slide, the former one. Yes. When we see in West Africa, all these countries have some commonalities, but they have been divided. Shall I have the pen, please? When we see, for instance, people from Mali have some commonalities in terms of language and tribe on all this area. But since they have been divided territorially, they are no longer the same people. You know, even here, people on the north here almost speak the same language as those here in Burkina Faso and Mali. So Ghana, they will speak English, whereas those ones will speak French. So the Scramble of Africa has maintained some boundaries which are not natural boundaries of people living in that area. The boundaries were made also for economic reasons, and therefore it has created a network of migration for economic reasons. In this area, in this time, in the contemporary time, migration pattern has been also around these colonial boundaries with the legacy of the past, people going there. People from Ghana will go to England, people from Ivory Coast will go to France, etc. And within also the continent, people from Burkina Faso will go to Ivory Coast and Ivory Coast to places where they speak French, not places where they speak Portuguese or English, most of the time. Let's move to the next slide. Just to show you very quickly, oh my goodness. It's very difficult to see all these pictures. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
So let's see again.
No, I see. It's for those people, the friends here. Here, the migration, as you see, in comparison to the population, you see the only place where the total migration, the total number of migrants compared to the population is higher than 10, is only Ivory Coast. The remaining have lesser population of migrants. And also, I draw your attention to the number of women in migration. You have almost half of the migrants, the population of migrants are women. And they move around for trade, for commerce, but also some of them even for prostitution. Remittances also are very, very important. In West Africa, the next slide, the highest remittances from Nigeria, with 21,000 million of remittance coming back to Nigeria. It's normal because the population of Nigeria is 173 million of inhabitants. So the number which comes down to the country is important. I draw also your attention to crisis in West Africa. Many crises due to war internally, and crises due also to political reason, and now from disease, Ebola disease, also things which make people move around. Let's continue. So the question we are trying to raise, does policy can provoke or can stir up or stimulate hospitality? Can policy, when we take a policy like the policy of of free movement, does he contribute to how to say it, to hospitality? Or do we need to think of hospitality as the place, the locus in which this kind of policy can prosper? And this is the question. When we take the policy in 1979, West African countries agreed upon to settle a protocol of free movement around all the countries of this area of Africa. But we have seen that this policy has never worked, or fully worked. Thank you. First, the problem of this policy is that people are trying to, it's very difficult for people to agree to let people come in. First, because there were already some ideas about the way in which we welcome people. For Africa, hospitality is a value which is embedded in our cultural understanding of ourselves. Right? Previously, someone talked about hospitality. For us, hospitality is not so much in entire subjectivity, but hospitality is a value which comes to the understanding that we are ontologically bound together as human beings. Therefore, I have my completeness when I meet someone else, different from myself. I become complete as a human person when I'm open to welcome another person. Be it a vulnerable person or a rich person or a strong